little at the end that makes me... Do you hear? You do. I'm not. That's there, right? Makes me think they are going to answer it.
Good afternoon.
I'm calling up about an order I placed, and I've just got a question that I wanted to ask about it, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I ordered a Cupressus macrocarpa Wilma that was 9 centimeters tall, and I was just wondering, do you know how old that plant would be?
I don't, unfortunately, no. No, sorry. Yeah, I wouldn't imagine it'd be too old, obviously, because of the size of them.
Okay, so definitely not 12 months.
We get them ordered in. We don't have them on site as such.
Okay, and when they're grown, are they grown from a cutting or is it a seed? So could it be cut off from an older plant?
The best thing to do would be to pop us an email. I'd have to speak to our director who could grow them ones on our files, you see. We get them brought in, so I don't know the process that's involved in it. But if you pop us an email, we can definitely find out for you.
Okay, great. I will do. Thank you. Sorry, I know it's quite a specific question.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, amazing. I will do. Thanks.
All right, no problem. Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Right, how do you word this? Dear, to whom it may concern sounds way too passive. Hello. Let's keep it as hello. My name is Edy Hurst, and I would like to ask you about a purchase I recently made. I bought a cypress plant, and I would like to know if it is over 12 months old, or, as 9 centimeters does not strike me as that. However, I understand that it was probably from a cutting. Therefore, would that cutting have been over 12 months? I could Google it. I should Google it. I'll Google it. I'll send it too, but I'll Google it. Let's wrap it up. Would this cutting be over 12 months old so that it has soaked in enough power from the earth to be infused into a potage that will make the mix appear full of worms so that I can cast a spell for a guest on my podcast? I think that's a perfectly fine, regular request for you to receive, and I imagine you have this just on hand. On second thoughts, maybe I'll rewrite that. I put a spell on you. Hello and welcome to I Pod a Spell on You, Edy Hurst's Wonderfull Discoverie of Witches podcast. It's the show where I, Edy Hurst, the type of guy who thinks a lot about whether there was the option for Mambo number 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10, and whether it was cut for time or whether that was a creative decision, invite guests from across the neurodivergent and or disabled creative industries to talk about their experience, their lives, and also help solve some or all of our problems using the very best in pre-17th century magic spells, rituals, and, as often as not, best guesses, to really test my cosmological powers. As you might have heard at the beginning, I have been hot on the trail of trying to find materials for this one, because this has been very much a more potion-y based ritual for my guests, which are Vicki and Adam from Blink Dance Theatre, where we talk a lot about co-creation and collaboration, which is something that I don't think I'm that great at, personally. You know, I'm not necessarily sure I was being collaborative enough in that conversation at the beginning with the garden centre. Although I have since found out from Google that for commercial production of cypresses, you will be looking at a cutting rather than from a seedling. So that's good to know, although it does reinforce the fact that rather than having a conversation with someone, I just went to find that out myself. Which, now that I've said that out loud, does feel like a bit of an own goal. I mean, I feel like I work alone a lot as a comedian. Generally, we write our own material, we perform our own material, we drive or travel ourselves to gigs, we perform at the gigs on our own on stage. Hopefully there's an audience. That's always a bonus. And then we go home on our own and we think about it on the Todd. On the Todd? That sounds like I've said on the toilet. On my Todd. Is it on my daughter. Anyway, I thought that they might help me in figuring out how to collaborate, because I was hoping the garden centre might be a little more involved than they were, but they were very friendly all the same, and I'll see if they reply to my email at some point. But before we get into the chat with Adam and Vicki, thank you so much for listening. Please like, rate, subscribe to the podcast. Tell your friends if you like it. If you don't like it, tell them too. You know, different people like different things. And also, if you would like me to do a spell for you, drop me a line. You can get in touch with me via my website, or that's edyhurst.co.uk, or just at Edy Hurst on most of the social medias. You'll probably find me on there. Anyway, I've got to figure out how I word this email to the garden centre. See if I get a response from them. In the meantime, why don't we dive right into my interview with Vicki and Adam? There we go. Okay. That felt like a very broadcast thing. So, thank you so much for joining me. Hello and welcome. Would you like to introduce yourselves to the podcast?
My name is Adam Smith, and I'm a tall white man with black hair, blue eyes, and I'm wearing a black shirt with the Blink Dance Theatre logo on it.
Brand.
Yeah, exactly, the brand, and which is fantastic. And I'm a freelance actor, musician, composer, facilitator, and co-director. And one of the companies that I work for is Blink, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and you're also a board member as well.
Yes, I'm also a board member as well. So I just joined the board last year, and it's been really great to have been able to see how the board runs and the financial decisions that everybody has to make, and to kind of be witness to how the company goes forward and what they want to achieve in the future, which is fantastic.
Congratulations. You've been there a year. Is it like near the anniversary of it, or is it just the general 12 months?
I think it's been the general 12 months, I think.
Congratulations on the general anniversary then. Excellent.
Thank you.
My name is Vicki Hawkins, and I am a white woman in my nearly late 30s, and I have long hair that's got a tiny bit of pink left in it, and I wear purple square glasses, and I am a co-director of Blink Dance Theatre and also one of the founders. We are a neurodivergent director group of 4 artists and we like sort of co-create performances and sensory workshops, and we also run trainings such as our really popular training which is called Are You LD Friendly, which is helping venues and organisations to think about how they are accessible or not accessible to people with learning disabilities, as there's a lot of work around sort of like putting in ramps and hearing loops and stuff like that, but not so much work thinking about neurodivergence and learning disability. So that's who we are, but we have a much wider network of amazing freelancers such as Adam, freelance artists such as Adam, and we run dance and theatre and music sessions throughout the week, seven sessions a week, 169 participants a week, and we reach at the moment mostly people with complex needs who are non-verbal and have communication barriers. And at the moment, one of my favourite classes is the class that Adam runs, not just because he's here, but it's an amazing immersive music class for adults with profound learning disabilities. And what I love about it is so all of our work is like quite urban and like useful and like fresh and current and like very aware of like current trends and sort of inner city vibes. And so what Adam and Gigi have been doing is like breaking down like Snoop Dogg, like songs and loops, and like making that into like tactile experiences on the body, and just like amazing, really fresh work, which is like really far away from waving colourful scarves and doing sort of nursery rhymes for adults, which has its place, but it's not where we're at. So so beautiful, love it. And I guess I've gone on quite a long time, but essentially that's what we do in a nutshell. If you'd spoken to Rachel, she might have spoken more about the she might have wrapped it a bit more in like the performance work, but my passion and my energy is in the participation. So you've got that spin on things. So as well as directing and performing in our shows, I also head up all of Blink's education work and work with participants, which I love.
And thank you so much for coming on the show, both of you, and also for some excellent descriptions as well. We're in an audio medium, so it's funny, isn't it? When you do a lot of live stuff, you obviously do the audio description too, but like here, everything needs to be audio described. I don't have a point with that. That was just a thought that occurred in my head. But there we go.
Definitely.
To Elvis Died of Burgers. Am I right that that's the most recent Blink show?
It is, yeah. We're still wrapping up the end of our tour in November. So, yeah, it's definitely still very present in our lives.
Yeah, I loved the show. It was great.
Thank you
so much for letting me watch it.
No, it's all good.
Yeah, it's brilliant. One of the things, I've got loads of questions about it. One of the things I wanted to ask both of you, and it'll be really interesting, Adam, to sort of see, as you've been with Blink on the board and as director, I, as a stand-up comedian who is gradually doing more theatre-y or live performance-y making that involves collaboration with others, stand-up comedy is so much you're on your own, and so much you're making your own show, and you're registering your own show, and you write your own show, and then you take your own show, and then you leave on your own after you've done your own show. I was just wondering, like, what's it like collaborating with other people? I feel like it's such a broad question, but you're such a collaborative group.
We are really
and I think like having working as co-directors, it'd be great to hear more about that and how you sort of build collaboration in kind of before you start making the things.
Both performed together in another show called It's My Move, and basically that piece involves a lot of transitioning from school to either the working world or to college. And that was my first time of actually working with Blink, and it was really great for me to get to know how Blink work and what kind of things they do in terms of their dancing and how inclusive they are with people who are non-verbal and the way they make things accessible. So I think it was really a great learning curve for me to get to know Blink and what they do and how they perform.
Adam, you now teach for us on our programme, so on Fridays, Adam and our other artist, Gigi, teach an extraordinarily beautiful, immersive music class. It is really so progressive and so amazing, and you teach for Blink. But I guess in terms of directing Blink's work, that's very much like myself, Rachel, Delson and Francis currently, who work on the director shows. So yeah, working with other people, I mean, I don't really know how to do solo work, so it's quite hard to say how does it work comparatively, so I don't really have enough experience. But I would say with Blink, it takes a really long time for us to do it, because we're very integral to being 4 equal non-hierarchical directors. But obviously we have quite a lot of differences in our personalities and how we process the information and everything. And I like to say this a lot, but we have actually been called too integral by a very high up piece of arts professional who I won't mention their name, which I wear like a badge of honour, because I just think I don't want Blink to run if we're not being integral. And just to give a bit of context, one of our directors is non-verbal. So we do work quite a lot in the non-verbal, I suppose. And if we're making decisions, we will move, for example, so one person, either with a support worker or on their own, will make a statement like, I think Blink should only do work about burgers going forward. And if they really, really believe that, then we move forward close to the chair, and if we really don't believe that, then we move further apart. So we're always using our bodies in the space to make decisions. It's never just sitting down and talking. So I suppose in a way, to be collaborative for me personally is holding my ideas very lightly, and always being prepared to bring ideas, but always sort of holding them sort of, yeah. For example, I have this like really strong example from our first show, Four Corners, which was semi-autobiographical, and it sort of like brought the four directors' like stories together. And I remember this moment where Delson just like stood up, and we'd like got the story all sorted and everything like that, and then he stood up and he did this like thing on his head, like making like two sort of like stag horns. And it was a show, yeah, which very much didn't have stags in it. And he was like, I really want a stag. I was really into it, kept repeating it, and we were like, okay. So we sort of like created, he was like a fitness instructor, and we created like this really hard fitness like yoga pose that was called the stag, and he sort of created this move, and then like, yeah, it sort of just became a thing. And so I guess for me it's just like always holding this idea. I was kind of like, the audience aren't going to get like why they're suddenly doing a stag thing. It's kind of like going on a bit of a tangent. It's maybe like not making the story make sense, but it's like, actually that's not the important thing. The important thing is that for me, I was like, right, now Delson like knows very much that his idea is in it, he's really feeling it, he's going to like love it, you know, perform it even more. It's gonna be, and it became like a really amazing bit of the show because he just like came on with like such drama and did this relatively like, you know, small part of the show with so much commitment, and you kind of think, yeah, it's like really cool. You never quite know like which way it's gonna go. But sometimes it's really hard, like, you know, we do really long days and we do like mega like long processes and rehearsal periods and stuff.
When you were saying about having, I guess, sort of organically happen through the process, or like the collaboration is leading what goes into the work. There was a bit in the particular recording that I saw of Elvis Died of Burgers that I think really highlighted that so nicely, was that I think it was about bubbling like...
Oh yeah, Rachel's
one of the performers was saying bubbling, and then an audience went champagne. Yeah. And that was just, that was like, yeah, like champagne. And it was so nice. It was such a lovely, like... Especially like first 5 minutes of the show, like showing the relationship with the audience being there as well, and them being as much a part of what's happening in that room. It's really beautiful and so like fun and joyful.
Thank you. We try really hard to get the balance because we want the audience, like we do relaxed performances every time, and so we really invite the audience to be a real part of it verbally and everything like that. And that's really been inspired by our work with Tourette's Hero. If you don't know them already, they're a great friend of ours and have really like sort of helped us with that. And I suppose like what is difficult is because of our access needs, it can get quite complicated. So I'll speak about mine because I have anxiety. Like I actually hate audience participation. And so if I'm in a show where I am going to have to be picked to be in the audience, even I'm a theatre maker and I'm quite a confident person, I don't know, there's just something about it, I find it really challenging. And so I'm really strong about like, I don't want that in our shows because I don't want anyone to feel like I do. So it's kind of like getting this like vibe going where the audience know that they're free and it's easy and they can, but not ever like making it feel like someone's going to be picked to do something. Yeah. So it's getting this like balance, you know, and that's just a personal preference because of my experiences with anxiety. And then I suppose there is occasionally like if the show goes too much down a tangent, like for other members of our company, like it can sort of make the running time quite long, and venues get really arsy about running times. Yeah. But anyway, I think we'd rather have it that way. We'd rather get a bit told off.
Yeah. And I suppose with me, because first of all, I started off as an actor in Tramshed Theatre, and I was part of Shout's Youth Theatre, and then I progressed to the adult programme Reach Theatre Company, so I was only part of that company first of all, but then I did the performance making diploma course at the Royal Central School of Speech and Drama, and that was with a company called Access All Areas Productions, and basically through that I learned a lot of different theatre techniques. I learned about different theatre makers, different theatre companies and how they work. And it also gave me the chance to develop my solo writing skills and ensemble skills as well. And it's really great for me to get to know what other theatre companies were out there and the way they work. And then since graduating, I basically introduced myself to so many different theatre companies like Facefront, Access All Areas Productions, Vital Exposure, Blink, Ignites Me Workshop Theatre, and Freestylers, as well as other companies. And basically, in terms of being collaborative, I've just listened to other companies' ideas, the way they work, the way they are accessible, the way they make workshops and performances accessible, and I've tried to gain in those skills myself and listen. And if I need to think about an idea, if I need to come up with an idea, I think about it first of all, and I think, okay, is this idea suitable? Is it going to be accessible or not? But then when I think that this idea is valid, I'll kind of say what the idea is and basically see if the idea is worthy or not, which is fantastic. And during my time as a freelancer, I've also been very, very fascinated to hear about other people's lived experiences and what they've been through. And one of the companies I worked for is called Ignite Me Workshop Theatre. And basically, over the past couple of years, we've done a show called Unheard Voices. And the show is about a series of monologues, and each performer has a monologue to perform. And when listening to all the other monologues, it's been really great and really thought-provoking and really useful to hear their lived experiences, what they've been through and what they've achieved. And through my monologue, it's about co-teaching a drama group for the first time by myself and basically believing myself that I can actually do that. Basically, I talk about there's a little devil inside me that's basically stopping me believing myself that I can do this. It's about me just going straight into teaching and working with the company by myself without any kind of preparation. And I did run that drama group by myself for a while, and it was really, really fantastic to run it by myself. And then after the session had finished, I was able to kind of say to the devil, you know what, considering that was my first time, I think I did a fantastic job. You know, you may have made me feel unconfident, but you haven't stopped me from achieving what I want to achieve. And as a neurodivergent artist and leader who's learning the trade, I think I've made my contribution to all the other learning disabled artists and neurodivergent artists in making sure they have leadership roles in the world in order to make this world a much more inclusive place to live in. So that was brilliant. So that was my monologue, and yes, exactly, yes.
Mic drop.
Exactly, yes.
But that idea of the devil is something that's really knocking about my head at the moment, because this is the thing with witchcraft, is it's accused of having the devil's mark, and it was just a sort of funny, I don't know, you always think that negative energy, that sort of thing. Like, where did the idea of the devil come from?
Basically, it was just the image that came into my head, because obviously watching a lot of like fantasy shows and everything, and I think that was where it came from. So for me, it was like a devil, but for other people, it could just be just a negative voice and stuff. But for me, it was like the devil trying to stop me from doing what I want to achieve.
Adam talking about the devil inside his head got me thinking, maybe that's why I'm struggling with collaboration. Maybe there is a devil inside my head that is preventing me from doing it. And you know what? Maybe it's about time I had a word with that guy or girl and tell him to knock it off. Here we go. Right, let's go down the stairs. Open this creaky door here.
What? Hey!
Devil in my head.
Yes!
I feel like I really struggle to collaborate with people and be open in a creative and professional capacity with them. And I was just kind of wondering, is that something you're doing to me?
No. It seems to me very much like collaboration is a skill, something you have to practice. It's not just a thing that people are naturally able to do, and perhaps I have created some doubts in your mind about your efficacy of it, but certainly I couldn't be to blame solely and squarely for all of the problems that you're facing with this. I feel like that's much more of a you problem that you need to sort out. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm really trying to think of a decent dossier of worries and concerns to bring to you at 3 a.m. tonight.
Oh, well, when you say it like that does seem fairly reasonable. Okay, I'm going to go back to Vicki and Adam then. Thanks very much. I guess I'll see you later.
Bye for now. nah, you're all right, actually. We're just going to think about how the Venga Boys made a concept album again.
Oh, yeah, I love that. Great.
Obviously, I had to kind of say, look, that considering that was my first time, I did a fantastic job and everything. And in terms of that monologue, we performed it to various different places and took it on tour. And it was really, really fantastic for all of us to share our stories to the audience and for the audience to kind of hear our stories and maybe relate to our stories as well. I'm sure lots of other people will have something in their head or in their bodies that makes them feel as if they have to doubt themselves, makes them feel unconfident and stuff. So I think it was really great to reach out to an audience and for the audience to kind of hear our stories and relate to the stories as well, which is fantastic. Yeah. And also the other film that I showed you was a cabaret show called Not Effing Sorry. And basically that idea came from a little sharing that we did for the Exit Festival for when we did the performance making diploma. And basically it was an original Exit Festival performance making diploma piece, which was basically about neurodivergent people, making sure they know they're beautiful inside, they're beautiful in all different ways, and basically it shows that neurodivergent people are allowed to think, naughty thoughts. They're able to go out and enjoy themselves. And basically we developed that show later on, and basically we talked about in the show a lot of bullying and hate crime that has happened a lot with neurodivergent people and the statistics of that as well. And then we talked about sexual fantasies in the show and what our sexual fantasies are. Yes, even though we're neurodivergent, we're still entitled to have sexual fantasies, and basically we have the right to live just as much as everyone else, okay? We're not like charity or anything like that. We don't deserve all that rubbish anymore. We are who we are and we deserve to live just as much as everyone else, basically. And yeah, so that show has evolved a lot, and we performed it for 2 runs at Soho Theatre. And then basically when that show was finalised, we created a company called Not Your Circus Dogs, and that's the company that created the show, Not Effing Sorry, and it was in collaboration with Daisy Hale, who's the producer, and Accessory Areas Productions as well. So we did it for 2 runs at Soho Theatre, and then we toured the piece to the Attenborough Arts Centre in Leicester, and also the Contact Theatre in Manchester. And then we've also performed it at the South Bank as well. And we've also performed it at the Old Library Theatre in Mansfield near Nottingham. And yeah, I think the show has had great success, and it was given a 5-star review. And I think it's just been really, really great to tell our stories and show the performance to everyone, and for the audience to kind of relate to our lived experiences and so forth. So it's just been really great to be part of it, definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
How have you, I guess this is a question for both of you as well, but like the word in my head is vulnerable, and I'm trying to turn it into a question. I guess I feel like the things that you're talking about on stage with these, and the sort of position, like with Elvis Died of Burgers as well, it's so playful, but it's also like, it's not shying away from like relationships with eating and with death and things like that, and about like the name Not Your Circus Dog, and it is a challenging, like showing agency, isn't it? It's like presenting agency as part of a performer. But I guess like, how does it feel like being up on stage and being that sort of like raw and honest?
Well, I've had experience of that this year because in Elvis Died of Burgers I have a monologue myself, which is a true story, and we were for 2 weeks at Edinburgh Fringe, so like day in day out I was like telling my story, and it was about my childhood and a story to do with my mum being in hospital for a long time. And yeah, I think it is a lot, like, and there's no real answer about how to do it well. We did work with a drama therapist, Nikita, who is incredible, and yeah, she like helped us to like really think about like boundaries. I think what she really helped me to do and us to do is to not be too worried or like conscious about the audience's opinions. And so that really helped, because I remember when we did our previous show, Girl Meets Boy, and I can't remember, but there was some sort of like audience comment afterwards, and we really struggled with it because it's obviously straight after the show and it's fresh and everything like that. And so Nikita did a lot of work with us. She's like, if you're going to tell these stories, like, you know, people are going to say things, but you have to sort of like hold the show and know what you're doing for yourself. Like it's your art and it's your expression. Like, you know, no one tells a lawyer like how to think about their job outside of the context of them doing a good job in what they've trained in, you know? And so that's really helped me. And I feel like actually any good artist probably should be, I guess, not overly thinking about the audience in some ways. Like, I don't know, like if you're doing visual arts, you're not really thinking about how the audience is perceiving your work. And so I think that's what's really helped me. And it's easier than it sounds. And to be honest, like one of the highlights of Edinburgh Fringe was like a man came up to me at the end and he had tears in his eyes and he just gave me a hug and he just said thank you and he just left. And you know, that moment like really stood out to me. So I thought there were two strangers, and like the fact that I've managed to connect with someone like that but not even have really any words around it is quite powerful. And it just reminds me of like the humanness of it all, right, really, and the liveness of what we do. So yeah, I can't pretend that it's not great when I do have that response, but I think I've moved forward as an artist in terms of with the work I've been doing with Nikita, just really sort of experience it for myself, my own terms, and just be like really proud of what I do and what we do, regardless of how it's perceived. And I feel like really grown up and like really mature because I'm like, yeah, thanks so much, but I don't really care. No, I'm joking. No, but it does feel like a different stage of my career or something. Yeah, just to feel a little bit more like owning what we do. Yeah,
that's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of the boundaries as well is really like is that in terms of emotional boundaries?
Yeah, I think so. I guess it is holding like emotional boundaries. I think as well, like we are trying to move as our team's growing, we are trying to move to like we're not being the ones that are doing the evaluation, because it's very hard like doing the work like when we're small and then we're asking people about it straight afterwards. And I think we're moving towards being a bit more separate from that. So we do have that emotional boundary, but it's easier said than done. But yeah, I guess there's an element of like when we used to come out after our shows, we always had in our mind like, oh, this funder like needs us to ask questions. So you're asking like, how did you find that bit? How did you find that bit? And now I'm just kind of going like, how was your journey? And then if people want to say something, like they can, but I just think like there's not that like desperation of like having to find out loads of stuff.
It's the same thing with me, obviously, when we're researching a lot of the hate crime statistics and everything. It was uncomfortable to research and so forth. And sometimes if you're telling a story, it can be a little bit uncomfortable inside or very uncomfortable inside. But I think with me, there was always the kind of support around me if I needed to speak to someone about how I was feeling and so forth. So it was really great to have that support in place, and that was really great. And obviously in all the shows I've done, the support has been really wonderful. So I ever feel uncomfortable at any time, then I can speak to someone. I can speak to Vicki, I can speak to everyone else. And obviously there are some shows where I finish performing, then I'm thinking, okay, is someone going to give me some criticism straight away as I come out of the show? But I think when I do feel like that, sometimes I'm like, okay, I might just step outside for a little bit, and I'll say to someone who is supporting me, and I'll say, I'm just going to step outside for a minute, and then when I'm ready to come in, I'll come in and everything. I'm working on like supporting myself and setting myself boundaries as well, and I'm working on, you know, if I need to speak to someone, if I'm down, then I'll reach out and speak to someone. And and I think that's always a work in progress, definitely. Yeah.
That's something that I really wish I was better at, is that like just taking out of us, just being like, I'm going to take myself out of a space for a minute and I'll be back. And being able to communicate to somebody to be like, I'm doing that for me and you have to deal with it. Or not like deal with it like, but you know what I mean? Being like, I need this for me and I need to care about me in this moment. And I think that's really powerful. How have you found advocating for yourselves?
Something that's really helped us is we've all got access riders, and that is for everyone, whether they consider themselves neurodivergent or not. And so it gives you a real space. Just like write down the things that may occur and then you give it to someone. And if I had an interview, I probably would try and do that. And so it's like almost like a worst case scenario thing, I guess. But yeah, just get used to sending it.
Risk assessment.
It basically is, yeah. Do you have one as well?
Yes, definitely. So it's like a support plan, basically, you know. So basically, Access All Areas Productions created one for me years ago when I started working for them. And basically, we were in like a safe space and basically we had one-to-one support and basically we talked about what we need to do our best work and what our access needs are and everything. And then last year I updated it and just added a few more things in terms of jotting down what I need in order to do my best work. And obviously before any kind of performance or facilitation project, basically we always kind of sit down and sometimes we might just talk to our creative support worker just to say how we're feeling and what we need before any session starts. And sometimes we're sitting in a circle or in a circle with chairs and basically we write down what we need to do our best work in, you know, what our triggers might be and everything. So I think it's a good way to just be honest about yourself and be honest to other people and just say to them, you know, what do you need in order to enjoy what you're doing, basically. Yeah,
I think it's really important to create the space, even if it's like it feels a bit.
Yeah.
For me, like I have only quite recently sort of. Again, I've kind of like known a few like physical diagnoses for a while, but I've only quite recently sort of like began really thinking about my neurodiversity and like sort of trying to like advocate and hold a bit of space for that. So I can hear you with that. And I feel like I spend a lot of time supporting people. So like to now go and say what I need is like super uncomfortable. And I do find it really hard and I find it really hard to stick to. But I think for me, Blink have kind of like sat me down and said, you have to do it, like maybe do it. And it's like, there's something about even just the initial sitting down and thinking about it. Like, even if I didn't have like our access and inclusion manager, I just think like just getting anyone to do that, like it's just really helpful. And I guess in doing that, it's helped me to just allow myself to be a bit more self-reflective. So I guess I'm just like overall, you know, I don't know how I'm going to feel in that interview with 5 people, but I'm just allowing myself just to be like, okay, I don't know. And I'm in a headspace where I'm allowing myself to be more self-reflective. So I'm going to think about how I am and I'm going to add it to my access rider. So it's like, I've got the document and I'm not saying that it's finished. I guess I'm like in a space, I'm allowing myself to be in a space where I'm thinking about myself and my own needs. Yeah. And that's a good start, I think.
How much of the, it's because you have such a broad, like the I guess the format of the work that you do is so broad. It's really interesting that, like, how do you see facilitation compared to like performance? When does that like, or when does co-creation stop being like co-creation in terms of like workshop-y facilitation-y things, and when does it turn into performance? Is it just like we set a time?
So we just like
in the room.
So every other year we do a director show, which is like a big tour, and then in between that we do something called Blink Lab, which is an opportunity for someone that's not in the director team to have a go at directing. So next year one of our artists, Sabir, is co-creating a show for people with profound and multiple learning disabilities, which is going to be performed outside in collaboration with Battersea Arts Centre's Beatbox Academy. So that's very much like the shows, and then the participation work sort of like happens with some of like the Blink director team and then a whole other range of people. And I would say all of our work is co-created because we come with an idea, with what you're doing, Adam, you come with a song, but like Adam's like absolutely incredible. Like someone will have a vocalization or like come with something like quite unusual, and Adam will like incredibly skillfully with his masters in
music composition,
will sort of like beautifully put that person's voice like within the music, and it will just layer and layer. And so it's always pretty co-created, I guess, because otherwise I think people would just not really understand somehow it's for them.
And in terms of me, because being a freelance artist, it's been really great to get to know various different neurodivergent companies out there, like Blink, like Accessory Areas Productions, like Facefront, Vital Exposure, Ignite, and Hackney Shed and Freestylers. And it's been really great for me to learn how to be more inclusive in my work, in my facilitation and performance, like using Makaton for scenes, Makaton for facilitation exercises. Currently learning how to be a facilitator, because a few years ago I did a project called Transforming Leadership with Accessory Areas Productions, and it gave 9 of the artists a chance to take on leadership roles within the company. And this project was collaborated with AAA Accessory Areas Productions, Manchester Metropolitan University, and with Dr. Lucy Burke. And basically we created this training program where each of the artists has a chance to take on a specific leadership role within the sector. And obviously my job was the co-director of the community programs, and you can learn so much from so many different people, which is fantastic, and it's always a continuing process. Definitely always evolving, which is fantastic.
So obviously I've invited you on the show because I am now a witch. I have the magic coursing deep within my bones and blood, I think. I don't know if it goes through the blood or the bones, so I'm hedging my bets and I'm saying it's both. Maybe the skin?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll figure that out at another point. That's not fair. That's for me to sort out. But of course, I asked you if there was anything I could use my magic to help you out with. And so would you like to share what your request was?
So we've done one each. We've taken the liberty of really getting in deep with this magic and really taking advantage of it. And we can decide on one, so we've gone for one each.
Yeah.
So my one was to be able to feel and benefit from the comfort of animals wherever I am, even if there's not an animal present.
And my spell would be to feel that I am in a safe and secure place. I think that's the general meaning for my spell, definitely.
Brilliant. These are both great choices, and I feel very confident in my ability to 100% successfully deliver these for you.
Okay.
Now, just a preface. So, I have been in what I think is a very healthy use of time, actually, spending a lot of time reading grimoires and spell books of the sort of 1800s and back. So, I'm related to the Lancashire witches in the 1612 trial, so I'm trying to figure out what magic they would do. And for both of your spells, I've used this book here, which is a small black Amazon printed, like, one of those books from Amazon that you've ordered, and clearly they've printed it just for you because they didn't expect that many people to want it. So it's one of them.
Right.
And it's called Witchcraft Detected and Prevented. I'll go for your spell first, Vicky, if that's okay.
Sure.
Which is for always drawing the comfort of animals. I'm guessing you like animals.
I do, yeah. It'd be weird if I didn't.
Hey, look, maybe you just... Well, because you said you didn't want the animals necessarily to be with you. It might just be like, you're not a zoo. You can enjoy an animal, but you're not like...
I think it's just like you can't have an animal like really going like just in your everyday life. Well, I suppose you can, but I can't. So I want to feel like I do have one when I don't.
Fair. Do you have any pets?
I've got 2 cats, yeah.
How old are they? Is that a thing? Do you ask people how old they are?
Well, because I don't have children, I actually quite appreciate stuff a little bit like more like, oh, I've got like, something I can talk about. So I think they must be about 6 now, both of them. I rescued them.
Do they get on?
Yeah, they love each other. They lick each other's faces and that. Yeah, it's too much. It's a bit too much.
Okay, fair. So, obviously animals had a very different role for people then. So you'd have livestock, and you would have like cats and dogs and things, but they were also fulfilling a purpose.
Yeah.
So what I have found is not necessarily somebody getting like to pet animals and things, but I did find in here from Albertus, who is a famous alchemist. Have you heard of Albertus? I have not.
No.
Good. Okay, good. It wasn't just me. That's a relief. So this is a part where he's talking about all the herbs he's noticed. So the next herb Albertus notices is balm gentle, of which Mesa speaks. This herb, being gathered green and moistened with the juice of a cypress of a year's growth and infused into pottage, will make it appear full of worms. Let it be fastened to an ox's neck, and he will follow you wherever you go.
Oh, yes. I was not expecting it to turn out like that when he said that.
Every sentence is a new adventure.
I'm chuffed to bits with that.
So here's what I've got for you, and I'm just showing to the camera and for listeners. It's a small glass jar. In this is pottage, which I didn't know, but it's like a mix between soup and porridge. So I've done that, and then I got some balm gentle, which is lemon balm, which is like a very strong herb. Got some of that, and I also got a bit of a cypress tree, which obviously it had to be over a year. So the one I managed to get was about 15 centimetres tall, which turns out is about 3 months, which admittedly is less than 12 months that you'd want for the year. However, I spoke to the lady at the garden centre as I picked it up, and she was very friendly, and she explained that it was a cutting of another tree.
Yeah.
So, the other tree's got to be over a year, right?
Yeah.
So, if anything, we've over-delivered on the age
of the cypress. Over and above and beyond, yeah.
So this is a little pot of that for you, which I'll send to you to use. I mean, you might want to put it in a smaller container, but I think essentially how I think it's going to work is if you get it round the neck of any animal, they'll follow you around.
Great.
I don't know. You will have to update us on whether it is just livestock that it works on.
I might start small, just because I don't know what the following's going to look like. It might, I'm sure it'll be friendly following, but I might start small.
And Adam, your request was for something to give you sort of safety.
Yes.
When you're out. Is that a big concern?
Yeah, sometimes on a walkabout in the streets, you never know if some people are going to pass you really abruptly on bikes and on scooters, and that can be a bit of a problem. And obviously sometimes you hear cars and motorbikes going past really fast, and the loud noise is a bit too much sometimes. And obviously I like to feel more safer on the roads, and sometimes I prefer to go to safe places like the woods and everything, so I can just walk around, breathe in the fresh air, and just basically enjoy the outdoor world much more, I think, So that's what I'm hoping to feel in the future, definitely.
Well, brace yourself, because you're going to feel it. I've got it for you.
Brilliant.
So, what I found was, obviously, like, car noises and things, they weren't around 1600s, which, I mean, like, I don't know, I keep finding myself just jumping out of my skin when you're walking down the street and there's, like, I don't know whether it's the area I live in, that, like, I just always seem to be at the start of an ambulance in an emergency, like, the start of the alarm.
Yeah.
It's such a sharp start.
I know, definitely.
I know.
Yeah, it's just like it's like a...
Yeah.
It's like so sharp and it's so abrupt.
And scooters, like the electric scooters. I feel like that's going to be such a... Do you remember like years ago when it was like, oh, do you remember the 70s and do you remember the 80s? And there were the decade memory, like the TV shows and things. I think electric scooters are going to be like one of them things in a few years' time. Like, do you remember when everyone was round on electric scooter? Yes, I do.
Yes.
It was a nightmare. They're so quick and slow at the same time.
They don't fit in any box, do they?
Yeah, definitely.
Have you ever been on one of them, Adam?
No, I've never been on electric scooters, but I used to have like one of those silver scooters years ago. They were very, very tight scooters with those small wheels, and I used to ride out along the pavement in my road, and I used to have like a green scooter with like a colourful footrest and everything with a little bell to press to kind of indicate to people that I'm coming through and everything. So I did have just the normal manual scooters, but I've never had an electric scooter, you know. So yeah, and I used to ride my scooters and my bicycles in the woods and everything because I live near a woodland area, and sometimes I feel much more safer when I'm riding bicycles in the woods rather than in the streets, if you know what I mean. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So the spell I have for you, Adam, is all of this is from Albertus Magnus's investigations of the virtues of certain herbs. Certain herbs. Not every herb, just certain ones. And this is the Secrets of Nature section. So the heliotropium, or sunflower, says our naturalist, is endued with wonderful virtues. For if gathered when the sun is in the 5th sign of the zodiac, and wrapped in a laurel leaf, thereto being added a wolf's tooth, the person who carries it about him shall find that nobody can have the power of using any other than mild language to him. So hopefully this is going to, you know, once you've got this and you carry it around with you, people can only use mild language at you.
Yeah, I think that sounds really, really powerful, and I think I'm going to definitely acknowledge that and remember that when I'm on the roads, crossing the roads, walking along the pavements. I'll definitely remember that and basically take that with me for the future. Definitely.
Great.
Yeah.
So here's what I've got for you.
Yeah.
I have got some leaves of sunflower from the 5th zodiac.
Wow.
Now, how do I know it's the 5th zodiac? The 5th zodiac is from late July to late August. Any sunflower that has been grown and like plucked around now must have been growing in July and August. So when I read that one, I was like, oh, well, that's great. That's a lot of work out the way. Perfect. So I've got some dried sunflower leaves for you to wrap it, of course, in a laurel leaf. I didn't know this. Just a bay leaf. That's a laurel leaf. There is a wolf's tooth as well, which sounds a lot harder to get than it is. So a lot of the things like a wolf's tooth or an eye of newt or toe of frog and those things, like, it sounds like really metal. I've got to get the eye of a newt for a spell. No, what? How am I going to do that? They're tiny and quite rare now. And I feel like there's a lot of ethical because they're endangered, aren't they, newts, I think?
I think so, yeah.
So, and a wolf, like, there's no wolves in the UK. How am I going to get the tooth? But it turns out that a wolf's tooth is another name for a thing called a wolf's bane, which is another name for a thing called a monk's hood, which is a type of flower.
Oh.
And now, are you ready for the wrap?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I am, definitely.
So that we can just make sure that's really nice and tight in there for you. Oh, I forgot to mention, Adam, there is also another thing that you get with this, which is a bit more of a security feature, but it's like a bonus feature for you. So let's have a look. Moreover, if anything has been taken from him by stealth, let him lay it under his head by night, and he shall see the thief and all the circumstances of the theft.
Oh, wow. Incredible.
So, you know, if you have got anything that is missing, that you think's been stolen, just pop this under your pillow and you should be, I don't know how that, you are going to have to update me on that because I'm not entirely sure how you're going to get that info, but...
Brilliant. Yeah, I'll go and look into it, definitely. Thank you.
Good. No, hey, it's the least I could do.
No problem. Excellent.
So yeah, I'll send these to you and you'll have to let me know how it goes because obviously I'm trying to figure out what magic I'm best at because it's a very new world. It's a very exciting world to me, but it's a very new world. Was that right, Adam? Vicky, you mentioned that you had some spells that you were thinking of swapping.
Oh, yes, definitely. So basically, I do watch a lot of fantasy TV, and obviously I watch Harry Potter, and I've watched the latest version of The Worst Witch, and basically I know in the latest version of The Worst Witch, when they cast spells, they do a lot of rhyming words and everything. So I was very interested in coming up with my own kind of rhyming spells and everything. And basically, I know that lots of people sometimes find it very difficult to sleep. And I came up with a spell to help either a friend or a loved one fall asleep, basically. And so if you're worried about your loved one falling asleep and having enough sleep, I was thinking that first of all, you can tell your loved ones to find the most comfortable pillow in their bedrooms, tell them to hold it, feel it, and smell it, and then tell them to lie down on their beds and rest their heads on the pillow. And then basically they should breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. And then to help your loved one fall asleep, you cast this magical charm to them, and it goes like this. The time has now come for a magical spell that will help you to fully relax and sleep well. Just leave your stress and your worries behind and go to a dreamland where you can unwind.
This is great to have, Adam, because I'll be honest, my ancestors have really let me down in the sleep department.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that we have this here.
And sometimes we can be so busy in our lives as well, and it's very hard to relax sometimes, and that could lead to not getting much sleep if you've got stressful things coming up or a lot of things to do, and sometimes that can contribute to you not getting enough sleep. And yeah, it's a very tricky thing to manage, definitely, so.
How do you find sleeping, Vicki?
I'm really good at sleeping, which is quite unusual for someone with ADHD. I realise, it is one of my talents, so I'm really lucky. I do feel very talented in the sleep department.
What if you outside of the spell? What do you do to try and get to sleep? Adam or Vicki, what are your top tips for trying to get off? So
I have a method where I complete a very complex ice cream order, which I do try and say to my partner because he doesn't sleep very well, and I do say, look, all you need to do is just think of an ice cream, like you think exactly how you want it, what's the cone like what texture is the ice cream, like what sauce do you want, and it just gets so much. And I think for me, my brain is then going into an imaginative zone, and then it's into dreamland really easily.
Nice.
But apparently it doesn't really work for anyone else except me, so it's a shame, because I want to be able to pass on my skill, but it seems to be quite an individual thing.
And do you have ice cream heavy dreams at all?
I don't even eat very much ice cream, to be honest. It's just something I've done since I was little.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a great tip. I love that.
Yeah.
I'll do the spell, obviously, but I'm also going to make some ice cream as I do. Well, I'll think about making the ice cream. I will start making the actual ice cream, and then that's
and then you'll be spinning out, Adam's written some beautiful spells, and I was just wondering if we could choose one more to send us on our way.
Brilliant. Yeah, fantastic. Excellent. I'll just find one now. That's okay. Just find one now. Yep. So I think this is a spell to give someone, a loved one or your friends, a spell for good luck, basically. So it goes like this. I wish you good luck on a wonderful day. I wish you good luck every day. I wish you good luck on this wonderful day. I wish you good luck every day. Brilliant. So that's the kind of spell I came up with, definitely.
That's beautiful. That's great.
Yeah.
Have you got more? Have you got more spells, or are they the two? Or?
Yeah, I've got some more.
The watch.
Oh yeah, fantastic.
Have you made spells before, or are these fresh? Are these fresh for this episode, or do you make spells regularly?
I think these ones are just for the freshness for this episode. I've made a few little others before, so definitely. So I just have one more. So tick tock. I love this watch that's wrapped around my wrist. Tick tock, I feel so calm and absolutely blissed. Fantastic. Yeah,
that one.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I love that one. I think that's my favourite.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Adam, and thank you, Vicki. Thank you so much for your time. It's been great to chat with you.
Yeah.
And I hope to see you soon.
Yeah. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
It was great speaking with Blink Dance Theatre about their collaboration and how they work as a team. And it still got me thinking that, I wasn't able to collaborate with the garden centre. I mean, I got leaves off my neighbour. I don't know if that counts. That devil in my head was an absolute liability. So I turned instead to the one person I often turn to when I have doubts. My friend and comedian Daniel Nicholas. He's an award-winning comedian, a producer, and a theatre maker who's worked across all sorts of different creative practices to make loads of really interesting work. And I've gigged with him for years. We've played video games together, and I thought I'd see what his advice was.
Hello.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, Eddie. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. Just reading about this Wile E. Coyote movie that got canned.
What? It's been cancelled?
Well, they made it and then canned it, and they've just wrote it off for tax reasons.
No, I was very excited. As you can imagine, as somebody who really holds out hope for the Looney Tunes eventually making one good movie, I was really hoping that was going to be that.
Is Space Jam not that movie?
No.
I think the nostalgia need to have.
No. Look, I don't mind watching. I'm not anti Space Jam, but I'm just not. Space Jam is not a good film. That's my opinion. It's not.
I don't know. It's 90 minutes. Not 60 minutes.
Are the cameras pointed in the right direction? Yeah. It's the novelty of seeing the Looney Tunes doing something rather than it being a film that's really got a really good narrative and characters that you believe in and stuff.
Anyway, you okay? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm fine. I wanted to call you up and ask for a bit of advice because I'm thinking about collaboration. I've got some guests on this episode of the podcast who do loads of really exciting co-creation collaboration stuff, and I feel like it's not something I'm very good at. And but when I think of people who I know who is in the comedy world or wherever collaborate so much, you're the person who I think of each time, because you've done loads of projects. You did that. Dan, was it Dance? DANCE? How do you say that one?
I say DANCE, the Justice song.
Okay, yeah, and that was comedians with dancers,
yeah,
and that was great. And then you did Conversation Garden as well, which was sort of improv comedy, but you were also working with the audience for that.
Yeah, and there's 3 of us on stage. So,
yeah.
And
then it's the big variety. It's not just comedians, working with theatre makers as a producer and things. And I don't know. It's something that I feel like I'm not great at giving control over to people or being that open with people. And I just wanted to see what you thought, how you find it.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Coming from a comedy background where your practice is you make work exclusively on your own, and your feedback is audience members, and actually asking for other feedback can be quite hard, kind of thing. Or opening up that creative process is a completely different world. But I think it's great, having someone in the room with you, someone that you trust, whose opinion you respect, can really help with roadblocks or problem solving, or even just having someone to have a laugh and kick ideas around with can really make a difference, as opposed to being in a rehearsal room 9 to 5 kind of being I've only got myself to hold to account to come up with these ideas. And what are you talking about anyway? You collaborate. We collaborate on cultural comedy tours. You're already doing it, and you're good at that. So.
Oh yeah, I guess so. I don't know. Is that collaboration?
Eddie is Ellen. Your producer. We literally collaborate on this whole podcast together, and you keep asking me to put spooky sound effects everywhere. Not a clue what that's about. Feeling a very weird sense of rejection right now.
Bombastic side eye.
Collaboration is just another word for working with other people. I don't know how you can get that wrong unless you're really bad with people, which you're not. So.
Oh, well, that's kind of you to say.
I mean, collaboration, it's a game of basketball, and think of yourself as Bugs Bunny or Taz or Daffy Duck. You gotta work as a team, and that's how you'll defeat the monsters, which is, in this analogy, your self-doubt.
Okay, I'm assuming you're Michael Jordan then.
I wouldn't want to I wouldn't be the one to say that.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, no worries.
So, I guess I kind of do collaboration. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe the devil was right. Which is not a sentence you normally hear. Like, maybe it's just something you practice and you have to get used to. And sometimes it feels uncomfortable because working with people is out of your comfort zone. But it pushes you to try new things and change and develop and be more open. And that's really important. So I guess he was right.
Yeah, I was right about that. And I was also right about how the Vengaboys, their party album, listen, it is a concept album, and you'll need to spend a lot of your life finding out about that and trying to tell other people and contacting the Vengaboys.
Enough. Where was I? Oh, I don't know. But what I do know is that I have right here the results of the spells, because of course we have a guest on, we cast a spell for them, we send it off to them, we see if it's worked, and so I have got 2 this time. So far, I'm 2 for 2. I've successfully prevented doom scrolling, reduced doom scrolling with Jen. I've also a bonus effect helped prevent jet lag with Alice Christina Corrigan. So I'm storming it so far. So let's see how these guys went. Here's Vicki first.
I've tried a few different things. So I went to my auntie and uncle's farm and I took the potion with me, and the cows, they normally are quite friendly and they let me stroke them. But I think I was probably walking in a bit of a suspicious way and they wouldn't let me go near them to put the potion on. So I did try and go to my park and find some pigeons, and I thought I'm not going to be able to rub it on the pigeon's neck, so I thought, with the cows I'll probably be able to rub it on the neck and it's sort of like ox. I thought I'm probably not going to get anywhere because they know they're suspicious of me, but the pigeons I thought I'll just try and drip it on them, but again, yeah, they were just very suspicious. Even though I'm an actor, I think I wasn't very calm. So thankfully, we're doing our show, and we've had a very new wig specimen, Elvis's wig, come in, and we all thought, that looks quite like it might be able to come to life with the potion. So we put the potion onto the wig, and lo and behold, it actually did come to life, as you can see from the video. So not only does it help me potentially, haven't actually been able to try it out yet, feel like I can have the comfort of animals wherever I am, it also can make inanimate objects such as wigs come to life as brand new living animals, which is just magnificent. So thank you so much, Edy. You've changed my life, and I wish everyone listening to this podcast and yourself lots of good health and wellness. What
a lovely way to be told that through exhaustive testing the spell didn't work. That it's our first bounce. I know the wig came to life, but that wasn't what we were after. That's the equivalent of asking someone to come in your house and fix your boiler, and then next thing you know you've got double glazed windows. It's something, but it's not what you wanted necessarily. But then that's magic, maybe. I don't know. But thank you, Vicki, for giving it a good go. And of course, you did send me that video of the wig coming to life, which you can see. I'm going to put that on my social media, so you can see that at EDYHURST on Twitter or Instagram, or have a look where else I am. Why not? Let's see how we went with Adam.
I just want to say that the potion that Edy has given me has really helped me to calm down, relax, forget about the worries in the outside world, and it's helped me to feel that I am in a safe and secure place. And also, it's helped me to sleep well and think of positive thoughts. It took a bit of time to get it working, but eventually it has helped with a lot of things. And I'm really, really, really grateful for the potion. So thank you very much. It was fantastic taking part in the podcast, and I'm really grateful for it. Thank you.
Well, that's like I feel like that cancels out I feel like that cancels out the previous bounce, right? That's like a bounce. That's like a triple, like a triple jump where you do a little bounce first and then it's a bigger jump. That's exactly what this is. That's the only thing I can conclude here. So I'm not going to explore the placebo effect at all. There's no need to. So if you would like me to have a go at a spell for you as listeners, please do get in touch. Send us a message. You can go on my website, edyhurst.co.uk, or like I said, the social medias, which is at Edy Hurst. Please do like, share, and subscribe. And keep an eye out on Blink. You can follow them on X, Twitter. It's Twitter, at blink_dance. On Instagram, at blink.dance.theatre. On Facebook as Blink Dance Theatre, and you can check out their website, which is blinkdancetheatre.org. And thanks to Dan as well for his always reassuring phone calls. You can follow him at Ellison Nicholas on social media, or Ellison Nicholas Things if you want as well, or just have a look at his website, which is danielnicholas.co.uk. Thank you so much for listening to I Pod a Spell on You. With me, Edy Hurst, and I will see you next week as we are joined by the fantastic writer, comedian Lawrence Clark. We'll be talking to him about his writing background. Also, he's a PhD holding doctor in computer sciences and molecular biology, which is just a by the by. That's not the main focus of the conversation. And also, of course, we provide him with the much needed spell of finally levelling the playing field against his very competitive son at board games. Will I continue my rolling success, or will I bounce like a potion on the back of a cow's neck? There's only one way to find out, guys. Join me next week.